I have a little bit of time on my hands right now, so what I'm thinking about doing right now is mount the tail, put the riser on, mount the elevator, and after that I'm gonna see if I have time to put the screws in and do a mock-up. Just pretty much, let's see if we can have a plane or something that looks like a plane by the end of this half an hour. For this purpose, I'm working on a composite pod setup, and the composite pod, the way the composite pod works is just the boom goes on the back of it. It's going to be glued on, and you get a Kevlar thread and just wrap it around in the front so it prevents it from splitting up during the high forces when you throw it real hard. Okay, so what I'm thinking about doing, I'm thinking about just putting the rudder in position and putting the elevator in position, and after that I'm gonna glue this joint, because I can turn it around like this until I get it nice and level, and in the same time I can put the wing on and bolt it on at the same time. So I have the wing bolted on, I have the vertical, the horizontal in place, and that way you can align everything in one shot and you can finalize this glue joint over here. The same thing happens when you have a wood pod. The boom should be floating between the two aluminum blocks, and the last thing that you do after you mount your wing on, you align everything on and you just do the final glue joint for the booms. Alright, riser. I'm going to put the tape on and I'm going to get a pencil. And what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to find this edge. For example, on the bottom, I'm not going to use this, but just to give you an example, I want to push it with a pencil down in the corner so I can see later on where the line is. But that's not what I'm looking. I'm looking for this line here. So you just want to push it into the corner. Like that. And I need this line for a reference. What I'm going to do with this line, I'm going to use it to cut this about 1/8 of an inch longer. and the riser is going to go in something like that. It will self-align, so it's really not much to worry about. Just make sure you push it down until it bottoms out. And for that, this is pretty much done. I have to cut a slot in here to accommodate for the elevator. Alright, I have to do some temporary work right now. So what do I mean by temporary work? What do I need to do? I need to mount I need to find out where the control horn for the elevator is going to be. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a temporary hinge out of tape. And then I'm going to actually glue the control horn in place. Inside your kit you have a bag like this with control horns, wires, Teflon tubing, and a couple of other little parts in there. So this is about the first time you're going to open this package and you're actually going to get to use the stuff inside of it. It's just now at the very end of the build. Up to this point you shouldn't have any reason for which to get in there and try to use the parts that are inside of it. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna put some CA. This is a gap filling CA, and I'm using the gap filling because I have a gap in here. Just gonna set it down like that. Push the control horn down. And you wanna make sure that you're straight up and down with the control horn. I'm gonna add some more here. That's good. And right now what I wanna do, I wanna make the cutouts here for the screws. We have a hinge and have the holes. What I want to do now, I want to bolt this in place, and then I'm going to find out where do I want to have the cutouts, so the push rod, the control horn. So the plan is right now, I want to bolt this in place, right? And after that, I want to find out the spots that I need to relieve in order to have this push rod slip through here. So let's see how can I do that. I'm just gonna hack it up. I don't really have a super duper way of doing it. I'm just gonna bolt it like that, temporary. I'm gonna slide it on the side a little bit, and let's use a piece of tape here. Okay, we have the riser trimmed out. Now we need to make a cutout for the control horns to pass through it. Now, in order to find where it's a good spot for it to be, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a tape. I'm using the tape as a contrast because I want to draw some lines on it. I have glued the control horn in place. We have a temporary hinge with 3 pieces of tape. And I'm going to use the front bolt, and I'm just going to bolt it, but it's not going to stay straight. It's going to stay a little bit on an angle. So I'm just going to bolt it like this with a screw from the kit. There it is. The whole screw goes in. If I can see what I'm doing, would be nice. Okay. So here we go. I'm just gonna go full down. I'm gonna make a mark there, and a little bit up, and we need to go to about here. So I'm gonna take the bolt out. And we have our 2 little marks, one there, and we have to make like a little cutout here. And we just need clearance for the control horn to slip in between. I have a small file. And with this thin file, I can just even go like this inside. See? And just cut it through. And I get quite a bit of help from the angling side because it forces me to go straight down the center. The slot, and it's roughly where we want it to be. I'm just going to remove the tape now. I no longer have use for it. I'm going to bolt this back in place. Only this time I'm going to use both bolts. And you can also check the travel, down, up. We may need a little bit more up. This should be plenty. I think maybe a little bit more up would work out a little bit better. You can also look from this direction, make sure the slot is in the center and it centers perfectly.
let's check again.
Oh, plenty. So that is slipping out now. Alright, so we have more than enough. We are done with the slot. Let's see. Now, in the boom, there's a little slot over there. What that slot is for the tip of this control horn to go through. So we want to make sure we go there. Let's push this elevator back, max it out almost, and see. There's a good spot for it. About there. See how it hits? It's actually hitting. It's hitting the back side of this slot. So we want to make sure we're gonna move this back and forth until we find a good spot for it. And that's what we are looking for right now. Or you can go full down elevator and just go forward until you touch. Back it off a little bit, and now you have plenty of movement. So we found a good spot. I'm going to take a piece of tape and I'm just going to mark where the tip of the riser is going to be. Right there. So now I have a good idea where to put the riser. All we've done so far is just we did some finish work because we had to finish the installing the horn, the control horn. But what I was most interested into is where is this riser gonna end up. So right now I marked the tip of the riser is gonna touch the tape. Okay. So that being said, I no longer need the elevator. I'm just going to use the horizontal stabilizer. I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to take the horizontal stabilizer and bolt it on. And I know the front side is going to be here, touching, and you can have like a 90-degree reference, or you can look straight down on something that's square. I mean, it's a square reference. So, or you can just put it on the table nice and level with some known blocks of the certain height and make sure that you're sitting at 90 degrees. Alright, it's time to glue the horizontal riser in place. And so we know how far forward to go with it because we know the tip of the riser is going to touch the tape, right? But we just want to index to make sure that we're 90 degrees. My weapon of choice is just use a cutting board, and I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm getting some thin CA. I'm putting my horizontal in place, just like this. You can put it straight down And what you want to do, you want to, it's like your bow and arrow, you want to look right through the boom, align the vertical as best as you can, and then make sure the horizontal is 90 degrees to it. So I'm going to give it a drop of glue here in the front. That's it. I just tack it in place to make sure I'm right. And that looks really good. Because I'm happy with that, I'm going to give it a drop of glue on the back. That's it. So I'm going to take this tape off. And because I'm happy with it, I'm going to check it again. Yeah, that looks perfect. Because I'm happy with it, I'm just going to give it a finished bead of glue. So I'm just going to go like that on the edge. This is thin CA. And it's going to wick right through there to the gap. And it's all that it needs. You can absolutely use epoxy for this. Epoxy is going to be heavier, but we have so much footprint over here of gluing area that you're going to tear this stabilizer apart before you pull it out. So in my opinion, the glue joint is more than adequate.